have a pledge and a prayer. If Tommy, if you lead us in prayer after the pledge, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our Father in heaven, Lord, as we come together tonight, as Lord, as leaders of the city, Lord, the mayor, the council, Lord, and constituents of the city, Lord, and everybody that's involved, Lord, I pray that, Lord, we be one mind and one thought, Lord. We pray you guide our thoughts, our actions, Lord, that will glorify you, Lord, and help us have the vision to look forward, Lord, as you lead us, and Lord, we ask you to just bless that and bless the ones here in Christ's name. Amen.
Amen.
Alderman Duggar.
Here.
Alderman Stark.
Here.
Alderman Lindsay.
Here.
Alderman McCormick.
Here.
Alderman Lightfoot is going to be absent. Alderman McLean. Here. We have a quorum.
Okay, we're going to do it a little different tonight. We've had a number of people request to address the council, so I'm going to let them do that at this time and see what we can do to assist everybody and resolve any issues that we might have. Who is here to speak to the council tonight? Yes, ma'am, would you come right up here, please? Yes.
Make sure they state their name.
Give us your name and your address.
Victoria Williams, 122 Angel Circle. And I'm here because of the water issue flowing into my yard. And I'm trying to see what we're gonna do about that.
What was her address?
I don't know. What was your address?
122 Angel Circle.
Angel Circle. Okay, yes, ma'am. I am aware of your problem. Problem exists is that your house is very low elevation to the ground, and the house that they built, is it only on one side of you, a new house, or both?
It's running on one side.
One side. I've been out there. It runs off one side, and it's elevated as required to keep from flooding, all right? So the water off of their side yard is running over in your side yard and against your fence, right?
My whole backyard is like a pond
Okay.
once it,
And
yes.
we believe that that issue can be resolved by some grading, which Roush Coleman is the proper person to require them to do that. We will ask them, and we will ask them to come and grade and see if they can resolve that issue. Just be of mind that just because it hasn't rained in just a few days doesn't mean it's dry enough to put the equipment in there to do that.
Okay.
And so we will address it, and James, if you will address it, and I don't think it's a bad issue for anyone to fix. And I think, Nathan, you've looked at it also, and so, yes, ma'am, we will address it for you and see if we can resolve that issue, okay?
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Folks, Lisa Harburger, I'm speaking on behalf of my husband, and we live off 170 Jamie Lane, and we presented an issue in 2022 to Shannon Woods, who was at that time our city council representative. We have not been able to reach our new representatives, but we are dealing with some major water. There's property development going in behind us, and we sit horizontal to it, and everything is coming onto us. There has been a swell built, but unfortunately that swell it's not a finished swell. It's not an engineered, it's very curvy, it's very uneven, it's not consistent. And now there's talk of a water retention that is supposed to be in that corner of my property that's gonna direct into y'all's new municipal property, and that's running along the whole backside. So I'm basically surrounded by the city water or whatever the plan is for that. So I just needed to come before you all and let you know that this is happening. Like I said, back in 2022, I have email records if we need to go back to that. But we also have two, I'm gonna use the word cistern or water drainage but we have 2 culverts that are pointed directly at our property. And the way that our property sits, there is no sort of easement. So if the developer right now leaves it like that, that's fine. But who's to say if the builder doesn't come in and grades that out, because they don't know where's that water gonna go that's coming out of that? It's gonna come on me. I have pool damage. My pool is washing out along the backside. I also have flooding. I have video of flooding where they've put up erosion control, and unfortunately, that erosion control is doing nothing. I have silt and sediment all the way across my property from their side. So that's our issue.
Okay, Mr. Barton is here
Okay.
also tonight.
Okay.
And I have just spoke with him about that since
Okay.
this afternoon.
Okay,
And yes, there's gonna be erosion as long as there's raw dirt there until grass is seeded and bedded. But we can address the erosion, and we can address it with silt fencing, we can address it with straw. And this property that you're referring to is not in the city, okay?
their property is not, mine is.
Yes, ma'am, but their property is not in the city as of yet, but it will be, because they're addressing it to bring it into the city.
Okay,
But, so we're here to assist, and I think he's willing to assist also.
Okay,
I
I
mean,
just-
the difference in the elevations existed prior to construction, but with all the construction, it's raw dirt
Correct.
now, it's just dirt.
correct, but it was 600 plus acres of trees. So that was a natural deflection of water because of the trees, and now it's completely clear cut. So, and with there not being an easement, like I said, my concern is if a builder comes in and changes that because they're not in city limits yet, they don't have the ordinance to follow like they would if they were building right down Mississippi and way our properties, but it's at my back door.
We've had a little bit of discussion, and I think that Mr. Barton is.
Okay.
His attorney is addressing some issues, even through the bill of assurance, that whatever easements and swells and ditches and
Right.
drainage, that they not be filled in through the bill of assurance.
Okay, well, and that's a part, like, I haven't had a chance to meet him either yet, so that's what, I've talked to Mr. Sal, because that's who we were originally dealing with, because that's who owned the property. We didn't know who to come to first, but obviously being members of the city, we left, came back to this town because we wanted to be in this town, be a part of this town. And so that's why we came this route first,
We're
so.
happy you are, and we're
Thank you.
all gonna try to address
Perfect.
everything. Mr. Barton
Okay.
can speak. If you'd like to speak right now, you can
Okay.
just,
Thank you.
in.
How are you?
Good, how are you? Sorry, sir. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. How are you, sir?
That's CJ. That's my husband.
Nice to meet you. Just like the mayor said, that we are gonna address the sediment that's coming across on you.
Okay.
The reason we put that swell that is
Right.
by your house in there was, I know before you guys had a water issue of water coming across there in the hard rain. So we
Yes.
put that swell there
Yes,
100% to help deter the water from your house.
correct.
So, we were trying to help you there.
Right.
And by doing that.
Oh,
So that's,
yeah.
that's the only reason that swell is there.
Yes.
So instead of the water going across the whole place, now it's going to the corner and leaving in that ditch line, that creek line that runs along your east side, I believe.
Yes.
And you're okay with that as long as there's not any dirt going with it?
Well,
And
we are, but we aren't in the sense
Before-
that, yeah, go ahead.
Before the development came in, I have a trail back there that goes all the way around. It's past 365. Now I can't even drive back there.
We barely walk. It's so
And I've got videos, pictures out here. Now our pool's full.
your pool's by your house?
It's on the back side of the shop.
If it's getting too full, it's getting to the foundation.
Right, so that swell that we put in would keep any water from the north, which is on us. from coming to your
But
house.
remember, you guys left that tree line, so.
Somebody filled it in, and then it got up to our house, and then you
Then
came
it
back
back
out,
in.
or whoever came back out, and did it again.
Yeah.
It's been a constant problem.
And it's just, like I said,
It's getting worse.
Yeah. And with the pool washing out now, that's the part, because you know where the property line is. There's
I'll
no
have you come
easement.
take a look.
Yeah, you're welcome to come by.
I would love to meet with last week, she may not have had a chance to talk to me,
Yeah.
but I told her to give you my number. So we had a meeting.
yeah, I don't think we got there, and, well, and our neighbor on the backside too, I know you're working.
Apparently, we were going south, now
He sort of directed us to you, so, yeah.
And that's a similar issue there, is he's dealing with groundwater. It's not the water from the phase 5, it's groundwater coming up, and that's why we're going in there to help him.
Right, well, and we just wanna know what the
And I'll work
combination
with
is.
you guys to build something that'll hold all that water and get it out of there so nobody has to do it.
Right.
But I don't have the money and I don't have equipment.
Well, and we're willing to help, and we've worked with all of our neighbors, we've
Right.
tried to help them any way we could. And
Okay.
you guys aren't any different.
Right.
We'd like to work with you and try to help you and everybody be happy.
Yeah.
There's gotta be within reason there.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And that's what we were getting to a point where we were seeing a lot of completion coming and we hadn't, you know what I'm saying, does that make sense? There's a lot of completion coming, there's houses popping up everywhere, so we were like, okay, we need to get it before somebody, before
Just so
them,
you know,
so.
nobody's gonna build a retention pond on you.
Okay,
They're not gonna build a retention pond on you, they're not gonna go on your property at all.
okay. Well,
Other
it
than- other
did,
than the swell that you're talking about with your neighbor.
do what now?
Other than the swell you were talking about with your neighbor
Yeah,
back there, that, I
Right.
think he sent y'all a letter.
They're
Yeah.
gonna work both we are. I don't know why they ain't.
yeah. But, awesome. Nice to meet you.
Good to meet you.
Sorry we're meeting you in this room, but we just didn't know what other way to go, so,
Sounds good.
thank you, sir.
That's okay, and we want you to come, and if we
Yeah.
can help you, we'll do that. Okay, anybody else? Okay, while we're here then, unless we're on the Hidden Valley Phase 5, I have sent out a couple of emails to the council, you've read them, and it explained that before the final plat could be, these emails went to you and they went to Don Rainey, who is doing all the work to request that the city take this in under a petition to annexation. All right, and before the final plat can be recorded in the office of the circuit clerk, an agreement must be reached with the subdivider and/or his agent and the city council. If the subdivision is located inside the city limits, or the county judge, if the subdivision is located outside the city limits. So currently, he's having to work with the county judge, and then the county judge will have to approve releasing the property and looking at everything and sending it over to the city. The city council will have to decide whether or not to accept it. But also, all that has to go to the Secretary of State's office and back, so this takes, probably 4 months, 3 to 4 months. And so the said agreement between the county or the city council shall be with regard of the installation of any street improvements or utility construction called for in the subdivision plat, the dedication and/or reservation of lands for public use, the dedication, acceptance of utilities and public improvements and other agreements as required in city council's approval of the plat. Any such agreement between the city council and the subdivider or his agent shall require the passage of an ordinance approving and accepting dedications of street utilities and public improvements. All right? After you pass that ordinance, it doesn't come into effect for 30 days because it allows for someone that's unhappy to request a petition of referendum to recall the ordinance. And so that's another 30 days that it requires. Okay? Now, I had sent another email to Dawn, and this is the proposed agreement of dedication to the city council shall read as follows. The Beebe City Council shall accept as shown on the preliminary plat, Phase 5, Hidden Valley, the as-built drawing of sanitary sewer installations. The city shall accept public utilities, streets, curbs, underground drainage improvements within the 50-foot right-of-way as designated on the preliminary plat. The city is not responsible and does not accept any drainage areas outside the street 50-foot right-of-way and is not responsible for any drainage entering or exiting any properties outside said right-of-way due to the construction of said subdivision, Phase 5, Hidden Valley. All drainage areas, easements lying within platted lots and outside the 50-foot street right-of-way shall be the responsibility of individual property owners, and said areas shall not be filled and shall not be and shall be maintained by the individual property owners. Now, what I'm saying is, if there's a swell in your yard there, and there's a drainage ditch across the back of the property, somebody can't just buy a house and come in there and throw a pipe in there and cover it up, and then create a problem for people on Jamie Lane. And so, those, as I have talked with Don, needs to be in the bill of assurance and also in our acceptance of dedications that these will remain as built, as drawings. Is that good? Yes, sir. And so, I think Mr. Barton is requesting to know, and I thought we had resolved that these phase 5, in which he's working on phase 4 right now, Don had said that he would like to bring in phase 5 and phase 4 and any other phase that we might have, and go ahead and get that all brought into the city limits, so you wouldn't be in a waiting position again. That, this just kind of slipped up on everybody, that this was outside. And I think in phase 4, part of it's in the city and part of it's out of the city right now. And so, so I guess I'm asking you all, we are proceeding to come to the council, and is the council in agreement to accept these phases into the city? Now, they were constructed according to our land subdivision and code, and that's required within a mile radius of the city for any construction of a subdivision, so that it is that the water lines, the sewer lines, all the things are done properly and to size, so that later adjoining property owners can tie onto this and the city can continue to grow. And nobody has to come back in and change anything out. And so that's why we have the 1 mile. So we're requesting that the council give us a notice to proceed with annexation ordinance.
So looking back on our emails, because we all emailed about this, and I thought that the reason why we wasn't accepting it was because SoCo owns all the water rights.
Salco does have the water, and there's absolutely, we're gonna be faced with that, not only in that area, but in other areas around and out on 64. And so, I think that, Matt, we have to face the reality that we want to continue to grow, we want to go ahead. We're gonna have to accept the fact that we can't impede upon their rights of water. So, we're gonna continue to provide sewer, and that's another thing that we need to talk about here tonight, is sewer, and of how we continue to do that and provide gravity flow into the future for 700 more homes. But as long as Salco has the area and they have loans on their water lines and construction, there's nothing we can do to acquire those lines.
So we're gonna lose money.
Pardon?
So we're gonna lose money as a city.
Well, we're not gonna not gonna make any money with water. Now, that's another issue that we need Cal's here tonight to talk about, is improvement districts on sewer. Maybe an improvement district, a different rate for subdivisions that's coming on for sewer than a rate that's current. Because, to extend this, we have to be able to pay for it.
Yeah, that's the thing, we gotta be able to pay for all the streets and everything, because once they dedicate to it, it's ours. And so we're gonna be in charge of all the upkeep, all the everything. And if we're not getting the water rates out of it, we gotta make something off of
After talking
it.
with Tommy, profit on a water meter per month is $5?
It's a little bit more than that, when you figure just what the minimum bill is. And of course, right now, our profit margin on the sewers is actually a little bit better than the water is.
This is really what it comes down to is we're gonna have a subdivision that's right outside of a property line that we're gonna have to, no matter what, I mean, if those same individuals don't fall underneath the same ordinance and laws as their neighbors, it's gonna end up being an issue. So, I mean, if someone comes and moves in 3 houses down with a host of roosters, and they say, I live outside the city, we're not gonna be able to police that. So, for me, it's kind of a no-brainer that they're so close, and I don't care about the dollar, I do care about the dollar signs. I know what I'm elected for. I do care about the dollar signs, but I also care about the well-being of our citizens and the people that surround those citizens. So to me, it's a no-brainer that we bring those phases into the city because of location, not necessarily because of dollar amount. That's kind of my standpoint on it.
Yeah.
It just makes sense. If not, you're gonna have someone saying, well, I want an ostrich farm. And us saying, oh, well, we can't do nothing about their ostrich farm, right? And then,
Our zoning codes do not extend outside the city limits or into the 1 mile radius.
Right.
They don't extend, so.
Right.
The only thing that we can control, so, yes, you're right, somebody can have junk vehicles
all over the place.
Yes.
Yeah, and there's no way to, and so not just to maintain a nice looking city in that area, but also the people that are already citizens to, make sure that their next door neighbor, has to abide by the same regulations, because that's why they moved into that nice subdivision. They didn't move in there for any other reason, so, I mean, if we need to make a motion to accept these 4 phases, these further phases into the city, I would make a motion
But
to
we
accept
want
those.
Yeah, but Matt, you're right, as far as streets, the cost of streets and
Yep.
everything. City does not make enough money off of personal property taxes, for instance. If you have a $300,000 home there, I understand the millage rate, 42 point something, but the city only receives 1.8 mills of that money. So on a house like that, we may only get $75 a year. And it's like that consistently throughout the town, but we have made the decision that for the last 30 years, we have not raised personal property tax, and we've left it at 1.8 mills. And because we just believe that, personal property tax is kind of an unfair tax.
Well, but most of our income it comes from water and other tax revenue, does it not? I mean, we
We will receive some money per capita, per family, per household.
and every time they shop at Walmart,
Yeah,
and every time they
would shop
eat at
there.
Casa, and
They
every
would shop
time,
there anyway, but
I understand.
demographics is gonna, but no, like Terrace Meadows, it will take us 15 years to ever pay for an overlay on those streets. But that's part of, sad to say, but that's part of, we gotta grow ourselves residentially before we can grow ourselves commercially.
Absolutely.
And then commercial will provide the tax base to offset and pay for these other
Agreed.
things.
Yep.
And so we're kind of in that point that we're too small and we're not too big, but we're in a point of a growing phase right now that we're gonna be caught for a little while.
Yep. But you have to have rooftops to grow commercial.
Yeah, that's right.
Absolutely.
So Jacob, you made a motion to accept
Yes. The
phase 5 and future future phases?
Well, he's talking about preliminary plat right tonight for phase 4.
phase 5 and phase 4.
Yeah, so
And any in-
Don's gonna come to us with a recommendation for annexation of phase 5 and phase 4.
Okay, and I will second that. We accept those phase 5 and phase 4 and any future.
I mean, we'll have to do all
Phases.
this again, but
Right.
before they proceed any further, they wanna see if we,
Okay,
Yeah.
so, All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, all right. Now, we'll go ahead and we'll talk about, I know I have met with some of the developers, property owners throughout, and we talked about, and Kyle, Tommy, we've talked about, right now, everything out in that area is not gravity flow. It's have to use pump stations, and we're talking about maybe trying to eliminate that, and so we can continue to grow west and over towards Swinging Bridge. And so, Kyle, you explain where we're at. We went out and asked for how we could do this and how much it would cost to extend sewer. And he can tell you how it can be done and how it can be paid for, if we want to do that.
Sure, so this looks at extending a gravity main across the interstate along Gum Creek to gravity flow the extent, the full build out of Hidden Valley. Now, you'll be limited, I mean, you're limited somewhat as you move further west, but it would pick up some additional demand further west. But we preliminarily, designed a concept design and priced it, and the city submitted an ANRC application, and Kendall was involved, developer was involved with ANRC in doing that. They met with ANRC. They've recently received an offer letter from ANRC, so that's the Arkansas Natural Resource Commission, for funding of 4% for a 20-year loan term for $4 million. So that would cover the install cost of the gravity sewer to service the Hidden Valley customers. Now, of course, if you take this loan out for $4 million, the debt service cost, and I think, Tommy, did you share this letter with everybody? Okay. And we can get this letter to you. Tommy has a copy that I sent to him
Can
with
we
the
just
analysis.
get it now?
Sir?
Can we get that letter now? Can
I've
already
only
make
got-
copies
You
for
can
us?
make copies, yeah.
Yeah.
You want it right now?
Yeah.
Okay.
We want to go through this tonight while we're here and be done.
Here you go.
Artie's right behind you.
So I've got the figures there. We'll go over it when they get back, but long story short, I think the debt service cost, if you run the numbers, around 25 grand a month. So you're going to be paying that as an initial cash outlay up until you have enough build out to get enough revenue stream to pay that $25,000 a month. Now, normally how this is done is that the developer would, potentially partner in the initial capital cost of the improvements. So for instance, in my analysis, I assumed $1 million, so a quarter, 25% of the improvements would be paid by the developer, with the remaining by the city, and then the city would recoup that over time as the development build out with sewer rates. However, this is going to require it to be treated as an improvement district. So what you do is you take the full build out, number of lots. So in this case, it would be phase 4, which is going to have to gravity flow, which would tie into gravity flow, and then all the additional phases. So phase 5 can gravity flow now as is. It's up on the hill, the ridge. Phase 4 is going to require an interim pump station, but once the gravity line were potentially laid, that would tie into that and gravity flow. And then everything else that builds out in future phases to the west would gravity flow off this proposed main. So if you take that cost and divide by the number of lots at full build out, that sets the rate of the additional, basically a fixed fee rate per month for those customers. That would be the improvement district rate. And that turns out to be $38. So that $38 would have to be added to every sewer bill. So they would pay the sewer rate, the going sewer rate at the time, plus $38. And if sewer rates increase in the future, they would pay the sewer rate increase of the future plus the $38. Now, the impact fee comes in with the developer financing is that you would charge you could do it a variety of ways, but probably the easiest thing for the development side would be to charge a per lot, fixed per lot rate, like say $1,500. If you charge $1,500 per lot, then he can easily add that to the cost of the lot, and that would be, every time a lot sells, it would be passed directly to the city. That cash will help you offset the debt service costs that you're gonna have to eat for however long it takes to reach enough build-out of development so that your sewer revenue from that improvement district matches or exceeds the debt service cost of $25,000 per month. So it gets complicated. I've got a chart that shows the breakout or the payback periods. And basically, you have to assume a certain build-out. So I assumed 5, 10, and 20-year build-outs. And of course, the payback period changes depending on how fast it builds out. If you use the 10-year build-out, I believe the payback period was like 16 years. So with the impact fee plus a 10-year build-out, it takes you 16 years until you're cash neutral. So that means you've recouped all the debt service costs that you had to put in for 16 years, and now you start to actually receive a benefit from those sewer customers. So you're going to have to raise rates in order to finance this. You're going to have to raise rates on citywide customers. Now, it won't be big. You already have a required rate increase of 3.5% through 28, I believe, for the wastewater treatment plant. So the O&M cost, that's going to continue to be 3.5% per year. You would need to add 6.7 to that. So roughly you need about a 10% sewer rate increase for 3 years. And that would be system-wide. That would finance the debt service cost, including the impact fee from the developer. That would cover the cost to put in the improvements, and then you're going to be paid back over time. Once you reach full build-out, if it was higher than 10 years, obviously the payback gets shorter and shorter. But in a nutshell, it's just coming with the analysis, but we can go over it. It's probably a lot to hit you with in the first go, so you probably need to look at it and think about it. But you can look at it, say, in a variety of ways, but you need to determine what the comfortable build-out rate would be for you and what a comfortable payback period would be.
So I have a question about the impact fee. So the developer passes the impact fee to the builder? When the builder pulls the permit, they pay
to
it?
the lot. I mean, it would be added to the lot payment. So if a lot costs $20,000, they would add the $1,500 to that, and $1,500 goes directly to the city as an impact fee
Yeah.
for that development.
So when they pull a permit, they have to pay impact fee then?
Right.
Okay, I just want clarity on that. And then the $38 a month, that's just for future phases of Hidden Valley?
Yeah, it's just for the phases that are going to utilize this gravity main.
And
So
that's
that
just
would
gonna
be
be
phase 4 that's in planning right now. That's going to have an interim station because they can't gravity flow right now. So it's going to
Right.
have a pump station to pump up the hill. But in the future, phase 4 could tie to the gravity main if you develop it out. And then all the future phases going west would tie to that gravity main.
Okay, and the city collects us $38 a month? And
38, yeah. That would be
then-
part of the sewer rate. That would be their sewer rate. I think that if you based it on 4,000 gallon, I think it was like $64 a month.
Look at these two.
Okay, and then last question. After the cities and the engineers and the developers pay back, that $38 a month goes away, or does that just continue?
No, that would
So the city
continue.
makes money at that point?
Right.
Okay, that's what I thought. I just want to make sure just so everyone knows.
They use continued improvement.
Right. And I knew the answer to that question. I just wanted to make sure that it was out
Yeah,
there.
and there is an O&M built in here. I think I used 15,000 a year for O&M. I mean, O&M will be fairly small for gravity sewer main, but, so that's added to it. But you see the table number 1 on the front sheet. It shows the cash outlay for the different build-out periods. So that basically is what the city has to finance some way in the interim until you have build-out and you start getting enough revenue to pay for its own debt service. And then there's the NPV, net present value. So that's based on a 40-year net present value. I mean, a gravity sewer would probably last longer than that, and there's not a lot you're gonna have to do. But 40 years is reasonable. So the 40-year NPV, you can see, is fairly substantial, but you have to be willing to take the risk up front to spend this capital, and, anybody knows how it's gonna build out, but I think if you look at historically, what's your build out been? It's probably been 5 years or so from start to. And there's also a sheet in here that shows the number of customers. This is subject to change probably, the last sheet. It shows customers served by project to full build out, estimated at 647. So that is the new customers, so that's past phase 5, phase 6 and on. And then when you add phase 4, 15 of those are Salco water customers. 16 of those, phase 4, are going to be Beebe water customers. The dividing line is right down the middle of phase 4, basically. So when you add to phase 4, which will have to be sewered by this gravity main, plus all the new 647, you get 678 lots that would be part of that improvement district. And that's how you get to the $38.
Okay, so what's the other option?
Yeah, that's what I was just fixing.
So
to ask.
what if we say
Well, I
we
mean-
don't go with this option? What's the other option?
The other option is
Pay for it.
pump stations. Right? So it's gonna be phased in. So like they're building a pump station for phase 4 now. When they do additional phases, they would build a pump station for that phase. And Tommy is gonna have, if the city acquires it and takes over responsibility for those stations, then he might have 3 or 4 stations to maintain and operate versus a gravity main that there's really no maintenance to.
But how long is it gonna take to spend $5 million operating them? That's my question.
It's gonna depend on how it phases out, how many pump stations are needed.
A lot of it depends on how you phase out. It also depends on, at this point, on the north end of town, you don't have any gravity sewer or any extra sewer pipe for future development growth. Am I right? And this pipe is gonna be big enough to, not just for Hidden Valley, but also any businesses that may come along the 4-lane right there. Any businesses that come through there, and then potentially any homes that come in on Swinging Bridge Road or even up to Stony Point Church area. And therefore, for your kids, it would be cheaper to go this route with a gravity because you don't have the maintenance of
Right.
$300,000 pumps to replace. And by the time you do all that, you're gonna have, they're liable to be $1 million pumps you're replacing. Instead of everything naturally gravity flowing.
I mean, I guess that's what I need to know is financially and responsible, in the responsible way, does this make more sense than pumps? I'm not a sewer man, so if you told me, like, I don't know that answer. So I need somebody that knows that answer to say, hey, you could go, and in 20 years, you're gonna spend more on pumps, and then in 50 years, and God willing, we're around 100, we're gonna spend twice that amount of money on pumps. I gotta know, to go spend this money, am I making a good investment for the city on a gravity line?
We can break that down. We'll have to probably get with the developer's engineer and come up with the phase plan and knowing how it's gonna be phased in, and in order to see how many pump stations are gonna be required based on your phase plan, and how it's gonna phase out, and how big the pumps need to be. The pumps will probably be, fairly small, as far as sewer pumps go, but if there's 4 pumps, 4 20 horsepower pumps to replace, it adds up pretty quick.
Well, and also future growth. I mean, how much how much will this pipe the gravity fed pipe, how much will that apply to future growth to where we got to put more pumps in? I'm not opposed to it at all. I just want to make sure that I'm making an educated decision.
Yeah, like I say, this is not a decision. I mean, you're probably gonna wanna review this, ask questions, and then, you know, if we wanna analyze another scenario. But as far as, we would need to know, okay, here's the phase plan, here's the pump stations required to accommodate all 687 customers or whatever it is, or 678 customers. And then, I mean, the other way to look at it is whether or not the city wants to take responsibility for those stations. I think, you know, I think from Tommy's perspective, it's less of a, he may have to, I mean, with the staff he has, you know, you may be looking at another staff member or something to that effect.
I mean, how do you feel about it, Tommy?
Well, my thought is, you know, if we see it as a viable option, that we do want to provide sewer out here. And I think we do need to try to do that, because it's just going to help the city, you know, grow, you know, as we go forward. And so I think if we can put the numbers together and get some assurance in case, you know, they decide not to build out and they sell the property somewhere else, that we don't get lost just toting the bag. If we can secure some of those things, I would like to try to propose this with this gravity flow sewer. It's going to be some initial cost impact on us, but it's going to pay big dividends on out the future, because we're not going to have to worry about paying monthly power bills out there to this place and maintaining it, and putting pumps and stuff in is very costly.
So you feel like the gravity flow is a better option?
Absolutely.
You feel that way too?
Absolutely.
Okay.
What are you talking about, the cost of putting in a pump?
Putting a pump station in, man,
Just kind of an average.
Probably about $1 million, probably, for those, the size that's going out there. I mean, the electric cost will probably run you,
So who puts that in?
depends on the horsepower. Well, right now it'll be the developer.
So the developer would put it in, it would be given to the city in the final plat, and that's when we would maintain it.
Yes.
So I need to see the numbers, it's what Jacob's talking about, I wanna know how long it would take us to maintain however many pump stations till we use $5 million.
Well, Tommy, can I ask you, if with continued growth and the more that comes on those pump stations, they have to be upgraded to larger pump stations? And what about the existing pump stations that we have right now, will anything else have to be upgraded?
well, of course, where this will be flowing to is a station out on, just down from Lee's house over there, and that station should handle that all right now, but, you know, anything probably past that, you know, we might have to change pumps or something over there, to accommodate that. But one other thing that we run into is, you know, if you're gonna run pump stations out there, you have to build a big enough station to hold all the flow. Well, to be able to do that, and then if you only got just a few houses on there, it creates a big challenge for us just to treat that water, because most of the time it becomes septic, and you're dealing with a whole lot of other things, and so,
Well, that's fine, I wanna see a plan both ways.
yes.
It's before I
Well, the
make
other
a
thing to keep
decision.
in mind is, I mean, you can set the rate. Like, so if you don't, $38 was based on a full build out. If you said, we're not comfortable with that, we want $50 a month, that's the only way we're gonna do it, and so that would
I'm
be-
telling you right now, I'm not comfortable raising anybody else's rates. We just raised all their water bills, and we caught all kinds of slack for that. I mean, people are kinda struggling right now, because nothing's come down. So that's just where I'm at.
So, I mean, this is based on a, you know, a given scenario. You could raise the impact fee to whatever you want it to be. You could, so, I mean, I guess we'll need to know, like, what parameters you want us to analyze. Like, we wanna see these scenarios, and then we can run the numbers based, but.
I just
we
wanna
kinda
see
have those
pump
variables
station,
defined.
if they was to do pump stations, what would be to maintain them after they were dedicated to us for the next, I just wanna know how long. And give me
At
worst
full
case
build-
scenario,
at full build
at
out,
full
right.
build out, worst case scenario, pumps going out left to right, anything, you know, but it's gotta make sense.
Can I, if you don't mind, can I add something to that? Right now, those pump stations would go to a system up by the ball fields. Close to the ball fields, baseball fields. it's been a couple years since I've looked at the plans. But it goes into a pump station on the other side of the 4 lane, or on the west side of the 4 lane, correct? At the end of Priest Road, there's a pump station there.
No, the next pump station is over on North Apple Street.
So it's across the freeway. And then it gets pumped 2 or 3 times before it makes it.
No, it goes straight to the treatment plant.
Goes straight from the treatment plant there. And then the one on, not Apple Street, but the one over there behind, I'm talking about on Priest Road. At the end of Priest Road.
There's a pump station in Bridge Road.
Okay, is it behind the old, feed store? Right.
It doesn't go to that station.
Phase 1, 2, and 3 done? That's what I'm talking about.
Yes. Yes, that is correct.
So they get pumped 2 or 3 times before they make it to the treatment plant?
Yes.
So if we put pump stations in on the future phases, not only do you have to maintain those pumps, you're gonna have to maintain the other 3 pumps on further down the line that it keeps relaying and pumping.
Right.
Yeah, and
Those-
I get that.
Those
but I wanna
pumps,
see
those
the
pumps are gonna
numbers
take more
for it.
wear and tear because they're also,
Right.
they're getting added on
That's
to.
what he's saying is that
Yeah.
this new gravity lane is gonna go to the one on Apple. It'll bypass all those.
Right, that's what I'm getting at, is
So by doing this, we'll save some of the relay to the other pumps also.
3 times plus probably have to make it bigger to handle.
And that would that be on us because we now maintain those pumps?
And I don't know, I'm not an engineer, but I would say with all of Hidden Valley, if it was built out right now and everything got pumped to those lines, by the ball fields, you wouldn't have any more room for any other growth on that side of the 4 lanes.
Yep. Yeah,
Gravity, you would.
I'm 100% not opposed to it. I just need to be able to like tell somebody, hey, if,
throwing that out.
yeah, if I voted for this, here's the reason why, because this is what it's gonna cost you if we would have done it the other way. So,
Yeah, I think the intent of this letter is just to make you aware of the options, get some feedback, get some questions, and then we'll look at the pumping scenario, try to do a full build-out scenario for that. We'll have to kind of piece together how many phases it's gonna take. Get you something to look at on that, and then y'all can say, email or call with questions and.
so what would, and I know, as a contractor with a gravity flow pipe already in place, would that make it more attractive,
It's irrelevant.
irrelevant?
It's irrelevant. We tie into a line, no matter if it's.
Right. So it's not gonna say, oh, there's gravity flow, we wanna go develop that land. It's not, okay.
No, it's irrelevant. Something to think about is maybe we could initiate a sewer impact fee for other developments in the future, for any building permit being pulled, maybe $500 per building permit, and pass that cost to the builder, as opposed to passing it to the guy who's Friday to Friday, living at $38 is gonna hurt their paycheck, then pass it on to the builder that's building 10 houses a year or whatever, and,
That's correct, but right now, we gotta be able to pay the debt service immediately and in the future.
well, I'm just talking about, do both.
That's
Go
it.
ahead and
I understand.
Can we afford this, Carol?
We'll have to crunch the numbers.
Okay.
You can't afford it right now, that's for sure.
Right.
That's why you have to raise these rates and assess that $38, every month from those customers, plus the additional fee. And like I say, that's based on, you can change that impact fee, you can, until it makes it undevelopable, I guess, that it could go as high as you're comfortable with. It's a back and forth between
The-
over in the city.
We're gonna grow.
Right.
I mean, and we're gonna grow. I mean, I'm not, so I wanna put us in a good position. I wanna make sure that we do that, but at the same time, I don't wanna make the wrong decision either.
Well, this had came up and we had asked for, them to review it. At the same time, we asked for where we could get funding. And so we just received this letter, top letter in the last few days. And, Kyle has ran the numbers in between there, so that's why we put it up there tonight. They were,
Right.
March 1 was. if you
Yeah, we
wanna-
can request an extension on that, because, I mean,
Gonna have
they give you less than a month to decide and sign the paper, so we can say, look, the city council has to weigh this, I mean, this is it's a big bite of, cost to bite off without any kind of revenue stream right now. They need more time to evaluate it before we get another month.
There's not any grants to help with infrastructure.
That's what we already looked for.
Gotcha.
And,
Okay.
Dick
So-
came back with this.
You can reapply, I mean, the infrastructure money, five-part debt, five-part
Mm.
jobs act, that goes for another 3 years. So they got an outlay for 5 years, they 2 are already gone, so, but you have to wait until the fall, so you have to wait until they meet in November to decide how that's dispersed. And if you don't rank very high on the project priority list, then you're unlikely to get any kind of loan forgiveness.
So what's the average build out? You may know, Kendall, you may know, how many lots you sell on average a year out there?
You know, I don't know the exact answer to that.
Okay.
I would say we're probably averaging between 50 and 70 lots a year, 50 and 60,000 lots a year.
Okay. James, how many permits you sell in a year for new construction?
It's been running about 100 a year so far.
100.
Last couple of years.
Okay. So outside of Hidden Valley, last couple of years, you've only pulled 30 building permits in the whole city? Okay. Citywide sewer impact fee moving forward would help a little, but, I mean, we'd only pay a little bit of it, but you could use it other places as well.
That's right.
And,
But we're not, we're still in the discussion on, drainage and common areas.
Right.
And retention and, if an impact fee would help that for the city to take over responsibility of, a retention and by an impact fee, that would settle that issue too.
It would.
absolutely.
Yeah.
I believe that's gonna start an issue.
Well,
Well, no, you're passing, if I
Yeah,
go
you're
and
gonna
pull
start
up,
an issue.
no, if I walk in there and pull a permit from James, it's $500 for sewer impact.
it's for the builder.
The builder pays it.
Oh, you're not talking about the one they were talking about the citywide impact fee?
No, he's talking about a permit for a builder.
Okay.
No.
That's the one that I think will start a big issue.
My concern is paying the note the first few
No,
months.
it was,
Paying
it
the
was
what?
something we
Paying
talked
that
about
$25,000 the
ago.
first few months until we get money coming back. I mean, is that not a concern?
Well, I think it can be done. This is gonna come out of the water and sewer
Water.
money.
Right.
It's not gonna come out of your general
Question-
funds.
I understand.
Needs to go
Right.
to Tommy because
Yeah.
we don't have those figures. and
Yeah.
Gotcha.
They gotta meet a certain debt ratio
Yeah.
and so that's how that number.
And that's what he was saying, that the only way that they do that is to raise the rates.
Rates go up.
I say we, get Kyle to ask for an extension
Yeah.
from our financing, because, I mean, it's one of those things, it's kind of like what the interest rate is, and we don't know what it's gonna be. It could be lower,
Right.
and then it could be much higher. We don't know. We can ask for an extension, and then, Kyle and myself can get together, and we can, look at all the stations, look what size they are, and see what it would take if we had to upgrade those, just putting the station in, and what we see a future on how that would cost us. versus running the gravity flow. And then we could report back to you guys on that.
That sounds like a great idea.
I just don't think you can do something this big just in one meeting. This is a lot.
Hey, this is tough decisions.
I know it.
but
You-
they're-
this- we
they're
gotta
out
look at
there
this.
Because we are growing, and it's decisions that's gonna,
Right.
we're gonna be faced with.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
So do we need a motion to table it? Is that what, or,
Yeah, we just put it on next month's
Okay.
agenda.
Do what?
We just table it till next month.
That's what I'm worried about.
12-inch.
Yes.
The hydrants going into this subdivision, the first four are 1,087, but up on top, he said that it's less than 500. I think the one that comes in from the side that Paul lives on, hooked into that road and come down. When Paul Bevel lives, the road that goes in front of it, come down. New subdivision that way. Okay. There's one there that's pretty low, but I think that's Beebe.
I don't know why it would be that low, do you, Tommy? That's Beebe's water.
Yeah, he had mentioned that, and so we're gonna have to get up there and make sure there's not a valve off somewhere.
I have a question, where Jamie Lane comes in, Jamie Lane's flowing over 1,050. Will you ever tie that in to make a loop circuit up there? Is there a way to tie that into Jamie Lane, or where it dead ends to Jamie Lane and tie in anywhere?
I mean, there's no utility easement that I'm aware of through there.
There's
I don't
not.
think South Florida.
That's where we are. We're connected to, we're directly connected to the, Barnums and then us, and there's no easement off that road.
That road just,
The road dead
It
ends,
ends at
it
our yard.
ends at our yard,
Yeah.
and then we connect back, and there's no easement.
I think that easement goes to our fence, doesn't it?
Mm-mm. Down Jamie, if it goes to,
Not on our side.
not on our road, because that's my driveway. If there's an easement there, I'd love to see it.
Yeah, there's one.
Just want to make sure that we're good before.
I know where South Dakota had serviced us before, I remember that being a problem. That's one of my main issues when we were talking about bringing everything in, is we don't control the water, so can we adequately go out there and fight a fire if we needed to? And that was one of the main concerns I had. Thank you for bringing that up, Chief. Ready to move on, Mayor?
Ready to move on?
Yep.
We have a lot to do tonight. Yeah, I think that, James, you're talking about, you got something up here on the board
Well, this is phase 4, and there was only one issue that was a condition on the approval from planning and zoning, and that was lot
480?
480. And I spoke with Kendall today, and he's gonna increase the size of the lot so it will be buildable.
on the phase 4, it falls within the city's drainage ordinance, is that correct?
That's correct.
And so in this, is there any retention or detention ponds planned?
I will let Mayor speak to that.
Thank you, Mayor. There is a detention plan. There's an existing pond, Mayor, on Mr. Priest's property just to our north that this phase drains to anyhow, whether we do anything about detention or not, it's going to that pond. So we surveyed that levee and the normal pool elevation based on the current outflow, and we calculated the amount of freeboard or available space in that pond, in that basin to hold our stormwater. And so what we have to do and what we've got designed here is a new outlet structure, a new outflow structure for that pond so that it will retain our stormwater and then discharge it at the pre-development flow rate. And Mr. Barton's got a drainage easement with Mr. Priest to allow us to do that. So we'll be cleaning up his pond bank some and installing a new outlet structure so that it can be utilized as our detention pond.
Is the one you're talking about up here in the northwest corner? Right above the,
Can I step over here too?
yeah, go ahead. Is this what you're talking about right here?
No, sir. It is this pond here.
Oh, okay.
So
All right,
we
so it's
drained-
straight north of it.
Yes, sir. We drained to that, and we're having to reconstruct this outflow structure so that it'll store our water.
So what size is that?
The pond itself,
That big on the map.
is that what you're asking? Let me look at my legal here. It's about 1.37 acre surface area pond, and then it had adequate storage above it. We sent calcs to Kyle, and Kyle's looked at them. So there was enough, we call it freeboard, but free space above the normal water surface level within the levee to hold our water as long as we reconstruct the outflow structure so that it would in fact restrict the discharge during a storm event.
So this is an unpleasant conversation that we've had in the past, but it's still left unaddressed. And so we do have to determine, now we're talking about in every development that's coming along, if we do pre-flow, it's gonna have to be some sort of retention or detention of water. And then when the final plat is gonna probably include from you a common area of dedications, which is gonna include this area. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. And we've got it on our most recent preliminary plat, this area is shown, and the legal description of the drainage detention easement is shown as well. So.
And, you know, I understand, but we're back to cost again and money about city maintaining all of these common areas and everything. So, but having said that, I understand that developers and we want to grow, and I understand that the more houses, the more people, the more demographics, the more sales tax. I understand all that, but at the same time, I don't think that it's fair. I really don't think that it's fair to say you're going to be responsible for something for the next 100 years, or you're going to be responsible for something the next 100 years. So we have to resolve to the fact that how are we going to, and that means more manpower for the city or another person or all this taking care of all these common areas. And so that's just a discussion that.
Especially with this one, since how it's not gonna be a common area, you're using somebody's private pond.
Pardon?
Well, this one's gonna be a little different because it's not really gonna be a common area, you're gonna use a private pond. So,
But who is it gonna be dedicated to? The city?
yeah,
Who's
The
going to
pond?
maintain that pond? The mowing, weeding?
Yeah, it becomes the city's responsibility.
the pond would.
Under the
city.
ordinance, yes, absolutely.
And I just want to make that clear. I'm not opposed to it.
Yeah.
I just want us to all be of like mind. I just want to make it clear that we,
Well, I mean,
what
is that-
we are accepting.
Mr. Duggar,
That pond will still be owned by Mr. Priest, but there's an established detention and drainage easement there for use as detention, which would allow maintenance of it in future if needed. But look, I mean, this is sort of a,
Well,
I don't know.
that's where it's kind of strange on this one, because it'll still be owned by him, but most of the common areas that we're planning on taking in, that we're talking about, it goes with the subdivision, it's common area that the
Public
city just,
ground.
yeah, takes over and we would have to maintain, but this is you're talking about somebody that it's gonna still be their private pond.
that's right.
Okay, all right. And all the others that
Yes.
we've discussed, the other day, what were we discussing, Bellingraph? or
Bellingraph,
out there?
just got one.
And, you know, I don't like having to do more work and maintain more things, but I think it's a fact of life that we're gonna have to face that when we're asking for more growth. I want us to all be on the same page.
Agreed.
I mean, we have two options. We have an option of a drainage ordinance that provides no flooding for high flow of water and flooding, or we repeal that ordinance and let it go. And then we have that problem, and we know what that is.
Yeah.
I'm ready to move on.
Me too.
We need to approve the preliminary.
And so, approval of the preliminary plat.
Make a motion.
Second.
Can I ask a question real quick?
Yes.
I understand the retention ponds and areas to help Clean Water Act and be able to protect downstream neighbors. If a development drainage stormwater drained to a creek, would you still have to have a retention pond since it goes straight into the creek and not across another viable property at
Well,
that
it
point?
depends on I would think it would depend on the flow of that creek and how much water, and if that's already a problem in flooding.
Well, it would depend on how much water would hit that creek at a 25-year storm event.
Yeah.
Right, right.
We didn't overwhelm that creek in 25 years, and your engineer would.
Yeah, I mean, I think y'all done one variance like that where there were no city-owned structures downstream and the creek, the increase was not large enough to
Right.
warrant any work. So a variance was given, but currently the ordinance is that all development has to meet pre-development flow. So you have to give a variance.
So I guess my question I was asking on that would be, because in some of those future phases of Hidden Valley, there's the creek that runs to the north, that runs east and west there. And it may not even be big enough, it may, but I was curious if it would be an option of piping it to that creek, the stormwater runoff, piping it to that creek versus several retention ponds down through there in each phase that you have to maintain.
Well, your engineer will shoot the topo on that, and he was,
I know there's a lot
how
of
far can that
engineering has to be
25-year
done to all
event
that.
go, that water?
But I didn't know if that would be an option on y'all's end, if the engineering and ADU and the stormwater swept and everything qualified in that dynamic.
Well, I think.
I think it would.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, it fits.
You can give a variance on
Yeah.
that, case by case.
I want to take just 5 minutes
Let me
and,
finish.
pardon?
Let me finish the
Call roll.
motion.
Yeah.
Okay. So we have a motion to approve the preliminary plat for Hidden Valley Phase 4 by Matt with a second by Nathan. I'm gonna call the roll. Alderman Duggar,
Yes.
Alderman Stark,
Yes.
Alderman Lindsay,
Yes.
Alderman McCormick,
Yes.
Alderman McLean. Yes. Alderman Lightfoot is absent. We have a quorum. It passes.
Okay, can we take just a minute, get something to drink, and we'll come right back?
No, you,
I don't know.
Red Bull.
I just drank it.
You just drank it myself. I was out eating.
Have a good one.
But she lived there
Crush.
4 weeks.
Orange Crush.
Oh, that orange ghost, have you had it? Tastes just like, you like orange pops, the orange,
Creamsicles?
creamsicles? Tastes just like them,
Oh,
man.
man.
Tastes just like them.
Well, I mean, are they,
Have a good one.
clean out to the road?
Just like orange creamsicles.
Statutory. Okay, we ready? We just go back to the first of our agenda and start down through there and let it go.
Alrighty.
Okay.
But I apologize, it's taking a while, but there's a lot of things that's gotta come up
It is what it
tonight.
is, Mayor.
All right, so the water department, you have the financials for December and January in the packet.
Motion to approve. Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Any opposed? Okay. Their 2024 budget was in the packet. Any questions? Carol and Tommy are over there.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve the 2024 budget for BB Water and Sewer. All those in favor? Any opposed? Tommy, you want to talk about the new vehicle?
Yes, you should have in your packet, that was, I got a quote for another vehicle purchase. Of course, that quote there is on the state contract. You know, we had purchased one back last December, whatever it was. And so what my plans was is to buy one the first part of this year, and wait till July to buy another one, about the middle of the year.
Yeah. I forgot about that one. Yeah, we
And we're talking about the $39,931 price?
Yes.
Okay. Motion to approve.
sorry. hang on.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve the purchase of the new vehicle. All those in favor? Great, and we've already done P and Z, so unless, James, you had anything else? No. Okay, so P and Z's been done, so now we're up to the clerks, okay? The financials for December and January were in the packet.
Motion to approve as a whole.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve the financials. All those in favor? Any opposed? The minutes, I left them out of the packet, but I sent them to you, and they were also on the table.
Motion to approve December 19th minutes.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve the minutes of December 2023. All those in favor? Any opposed? Okay. Fire department has a vehicle that we just need to get rid of it. It's a 1992 Chevrolet Silverado. It's just old and they've all left me. But anyway, it's gonna cost more to repair it than it is to actually keep it on our assets. So we'd like permission to remove it off our asset list and to sell the vehicle.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Any opposed? I'm gonna go ahead and do, if that's okay with you, Mike, do the park one, because Jason's not here tonight. Okay, the parks want to buy a from Sunrise Motorsports. They want to purchase a Polaris.
I think we already did purchase, we just gotta approve it, right?
Yes, but I wasn't gonna say that.
Okay, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have jumped
It's
ahead.
okay.
I make a motion to approve the new purchase of the 2021 Polaris.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor? Any opposed? Okay, we're gonna go ahead and do the fire one. I'm sorry, William, I forgot. I didn't put that in the packet. I apologize. What is the new vehicle we're wanting to purchase? 2019.
Is this to replace the one we're removing?
Don't matter, it's Chevy, we'll approve.
Oh, is that? Don't
you
t-
say what?
Don't tell them that, my goodness. They'll have-
Okay.
But it's to replace the one that we just moved off the access, the list.
Yeah,
Okay.
replace the 92 one.
Yep. Okay. Motion to approve purchase of the,
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Any
Aye.
opposed? Okay, now that's all I got.
Now, these vehicles that we're approving, do we need to come back with an ordinance for waive competitive bidding?
Yep. I will
So
do
you
that.
Put that on there, so you'll have to come back and pass an ordinance to waive competitive bidding.
Well, some of them we will,
Yep.
depending on the price. That's all I got. Sorry, you're up.
I'm up.
Yep.
I think we already did Hidden Valley.
Yes, sir.
And we talked about the gravity flow. I can pass this one till next month. Okay. Again, I apologize for the late meeting tonight, but some things I have to do by statute, and tonight's it. And I have to go over the financials that we have spent last year, so I'll make it as painless as possible and move on, but, we have to have it in a minute, so, last year, I'm gonna say the larger items and where we spent money. And we sold the BIDC property for $723,000. We purchased the DeWitt Henry property, 32 acres, for $750,000. Then we sold 9.56 acres of that for $425,000. Nathan's adding all this up. And then we had a bid infrastructure for Phase 1, 9 lots, for $726,000. That leaves 9.89 acres for Phase 2 with an estimated cost of infrastructure of $1 million. So averaging everything, and I think Nathan, we've talked about this, we would have in Phase 1 5 lots that would be less than an acre, somewhere from 5/8 of an acre up to an acre. We would have 5 lots that we would need to sell out at $100,000 a lot. And then we would have 4 lots that would be over an acre that we would need to sell out at the same $100,000. It would amount to 4 lots at $636,000 for a total of $1,136,000, which is going to pretty much break us even in providing these commercial lots for businesses and sell out at. So we're pretty much at a break-even point right there at those prices. We will have the 9.89 acres, 9 acres, and I asked Kyle tonight where the $1 million infrastructure estimated. I asked him tonight to redraw that and send it back to the state, where we have been awarded $560,000 for Phase 2 infrastructure. $160,000 of it will be for engineering, and $400,000 of it would be for road construction and improvement. So I asked him to redraw that, and hopefully we can drop that $1 million to $750,000. That would reduce the city's portion of the Phase 2. Now, in the Phase 1 and all that figuring a while ago, I included the cost of the Phase 2 acreage. So we're gonna be up there on that end of it, and we've had some interest in it, and I sent you all, and they've asked me to try to reduce that, and so I've asked him to redraw that, and send it over to the state and see if we can redraw that and reduce the cost some. But, in addition to that, in '23, we bought, and this is above and beyond our normal budget. All of this was above and beyond our normal budget figures. But through our work over the past years, we've been able to save some money, and we saved money and put it back for this, for our future growth. And so we had money to do this project. And we also purchased 12 vehicles at a total of $534,000 last year. And then, in addition to that,
But that's not out of the general fund, correct? That's out of,
huh?
that's not out of the general fund. That's
Yeah.
out of,
Yeah.
oh, it's out of the general fund.
Everything's out of the general fund.
Okay.
Okay, in addition to that, we purchased the 40 acres for $425,000. And then we cleared it at $140,000, so we have $565,000 in land acquisition assets above and beyond our normal budget. So I think we did very well, and I think we're doing the correct thing for the growth. We want to continue Parks and Recreation growth. We want to continue commercial growth. We want to control our commercial growth in that area that we purchased over there. And then, having said all that, at the end of the year, our balance sheet for our general fund is $4 million. So we're still $4 million in our general fund. So that's general fund and savings, aspect of savings. But we pretty much run everything out of our general fund. Well, that was the money we spent. And I think we're gonna talk about, well, let me just go over to and talk about, at the same time we're talking about all this expenditures and finances. Everybody received an audit in the mail.
Mhm.
You did? Okay, so our 2022 audit, we did very well on our audit. Once again, we had, under Mayor Parks Director, we had some fraud, which the city, we caught. We turned it in to the prosecutor, but yet, when the auditors come, we report it to them. They write it up, and I received a letter back from the White County prosecutor that said, on December the 5th, 2023, Mr. Thomas pled guilty to abuse of office, a Class A misdemeanor. Restitution in the amount of $3,500 was paid to the city at the time of the plea. The balance of restitution, $1,661.99, with the fine and cost are due and paid prior to December 4th, 2024. And any other remaining restitution owed to the city can be recovered in civil court. So we've recovered money on that. We had $9,930 that was paid for uniforms, the company that was owned by the park director, which was, we didn't have knowledge of. And that was against Arkansas Code 1442-107. We had $637 in purchase without documented business purpose, and we had $220 in equipment located at the park director's home. All that we had went through police investigation and determined prior to the audit. Then we had some, district court, we had some journal disbursements, it was just clerical, and so nothing, no money missing, no money missing throughout the city anywhere. We had some clerical errors, and that was due to, we had all new employees, and they've been through training now, so we're good to go everywhere. I thought it was a good audit, and so that, I have to discuss that with you. Is any questions on any of that? Okay.
I have a question. Can you run me those numbers again on the property across from the First Security Bank? The
The what
property
now?
that the city bought, the commercial property, can you give me those numbers again?
And what?
The numbers
The
across.
numbers, again, on what we paid for the land, what we got sold the 9 acres for, what our improvements were for.
Can I just give you a copy of this in a little bit?
Yeah, be fine.
Okay. All right.
Thank
I'll
you.
just give you a copy of my notes.
No, no problem at all. Thank you.
Okay, I sent you all something else out too, about continued growth in parks and recreation. And we had Municipal League send us over the statutes that pertain to A and P. After reviewing those, I was not gonna support an A and P. The reason is that you have to set up a 7-member of A and P commission. A and P, once they're set up, they can determine how money is dispersed. There is a provision in the A and P that says that the voters can dedicate the money to, all the money to Parks and Recreation, all right? And that the money that then will be dispersed by the mayor with approval of the city council. All that sounded real good. And so I sent back to the legal department again, and it was, yes, but you still have to set up an A and P commission, and you still have to appoint 7 members. And then if you do any bonds, you have to turn the money over to the commission, which will then fund the bonds. And so I can't see that that's anything that we're already asking for, let's just say, prepared food tax, hotels and prepared food at up to a 3%. All right? So I can't see why we would put ourselves through all of that, and it has to go to a vote of the people, and they have to grant that. So why not just ask for a gross sales tax and go to the vote of the people? The money would go then to Parks and Rec that's dedicated by the council and controlled by the council. And if you decided you wanted to pass a bond issue, that money would go from the council to pay for the bond issue. And so at a city sales tax, 1% generates a little over $2 million a year. And so we're at 9.5% right now. If you want to grow your Parks and Rec, I don't know how much money you would get off the A and P, but I don't think it would be as much as a 1/4 cent sales tax or a 1/2 cent sales tax. So a 1/4 cent sales tax, you know that you're gonna generate $500,000 a year. A 1/2 cent sales tax, you're gonna generate $1 million a year, in which would fund your growth into your parks and recs and fields and all that. So I feel more comfortable. I feel like we would be better off just to go for a gross sales tax than through an A and P commission. And it's yet to be determined what you would get. And let's just say that, I don't know what the prepared food tax is. I mean, prepared food is such sales are in the city. But if it were 5 million, at 2%, how much would that be?
100,000?
Yeah,
Sure.
okay,
Yeah,
that's, you're correct.
Yeah.
And so that's not very much. You can't do anything with it.
Nope.
3%. If it's 10 million, it's 2%. What do you got?
200,000.
If you sold 10 million in prepared food, and you had a 2% on it, so, you know, you still can't
Nope.
Yeah, nothing.
do anything with it much. So I feel like we would be better off to go to the voters and say, you know, here's your Parks and Recreation, we want to grow this, and we want to ask for, place it on the ballot for you will decide, not us. It's what you want for your city. And they're going to do the same thing with A&P. They're going to be the decision maker. And so you can ask for a quarter, you can ask for a half.
So you said 1% is 2 million a year?
No.
Yes,
For 1
that's what I
cent.
said. That's what I
A
said.
half of a penny.
1% city sales tax generates 2 million a year.
1%,
So,
okay.
if you went from a quarter, you're talking about 500,000 or a half. So if you said, okay, well, we're gonna ask for a half, then you're gonna generate $1 million a year to go to Parks and Rec. Then your sales tax rate's gonna be 10% instead of 9.5. Is that correct?
And out of that half cent sales
Half
tax,
cent.
how much goes to
$1
Parks and
million.
Rec?
$1 million.
Okay, million, okay.
So I just think that if we're gonna.
Last year's 1% sales tax generated $2.3 million. So I'm dropping off the 300,000 and rounding it off to 2 million.
I just think that if we're gonna propose this to the voters, that there's also a plan for what the money would go to.
That's right.
I mean, that we need to
Agree.
that we need to figure out what we're do with the money and show, you know, have engineers drop some plans and show those plans to the voters when they go in there to vote, whether it's on a board where they can walk in and say, you know, this is the new facility or whatever, just so if you can't put a visual picture with what you're spending the money on, I wouldn't
You do
vote for
it
it.
90 days prior to an election, you can do it in November if you want. You can do it in May, but that's pretty pushing it,
Right,
right?
absolutely.
And you're gonna get your largest voter turnout in November.
Yep.
Agreed.
And so you can
Agreed.
place it on the
Election.
ballot in November.
Be the most people showing up in November.
Yeah, I just think that there was a time that
This
this was, and I don't even remember if I voted for it or not, to be totally honest with you, but I remember going in there looking at a sales tax increase, and I think some of it had to do with Parks and Recs, and there's some money that was, anyway, there was nothing for me to picture that money going towards. And I just know that if I want to see our Parks and Rec grow, obviously I do, I'd like to have a plan in place of what we're gonna spend the money on, so we can show the people in the city what they're gonna get. And also there's some accountability. They can hold us accountable. They can say, hey, I voted for this, so that money needs to be spent on this.
Are you talking about putting that in the ballot?
Yeah, I
He's
think.
more talking about on like being able to go out and show people a flyer going, look, that land we just purchased out here, this is what we're wanting to do here.
You can show them a flyer, but I don't think you can put it in the ballot.
No,
and
you
let
can't.
them-
No, you can't be on
It
the.
can't be on the ballot.
I understand that, but you can absolutely have an architect
You
put up
need to do
that's showing what the plans are.
Plans are for months and months and
Yes.
months.
That's right, and showing
Over
what
the
the,
next
People
10
get an
years,
idea
this is
what's
what we
going on.
want
Yeah.
it to be, if
Yeah.
this passes.
that's
If
right.
you got 40
A plan.
acres there, you're gonna say, well, I want this and
That's
this,
right.
Yes.
this many fields, this here,
That's
this
right.
here, this here, and this is a long-range plan, and we can immediately,
That's,
you know, pass a
Begin.
bond issue to do
start-
the X amount here.
Yep.
I just think that some of the reason that didn't pass maybe last time is because they didn't have an idea of what was gonna go there. And 8 people, I guess.
8 votes.
8 votes. 8 people voted or 8 votes?
8, no, it missed. It didn't pass by 8 votes.
By 8 votes. I'll be honest with you, like I said, I don't remember how I even voted, but I do remember
Well,
not having an idea
Anytime
what
you
it
ask
was
for tax, it's a little awkward,
Yep.
but it has to be of interest. And, you know, I think at the Parks and Rec level, everybody wants something for their kids and grandkids, and they want the best. And that's so, you know, if we're gonna, this is what your kids and your grandkids are gonna receive out of this money. It's your decision, it's not our decision. We're not the ones here that,
And will that percentage be dedicated to Parks and Recs for now on unless the city changes it by an
You
ordinance?
can't change it. Once it's voted on as that, it's that.
That's what I'm
It can
saying.
be-
Yes.
It can be unvoted, but.
It can be undone.
We can't drop it off.
That's right.
But we can change it. We can ask them to go back and change something,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
I think for our Parks and Recs, it's important to have a
But here's the
dedicated
thing, and I
workflow
said
that's.
this, you know, we're spending more money right now than we have ever spent in the past. And it's daily nearly, or every few days, can I get this, can I get this, can I get this? And so far, it's been yes, 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 but there's gotta be a halting because I can't continue it just, but right now, I feel like that we've got things that were beneficial, but I know that the rate we wanna grow it, we can't do it without this revenue because we just don't have it.
Well, we also need to be real careful about pumping money into something that, if we plan on building something new, that
Yeah.
might not be there.
Well,
So I'm not
So-
saying
so
that we
just-
don't want it to be nice, but I'm just saying,
yeah, just, so they've done a tremendous job out of the ballpark, getting everything back right.
yeah,
But the way that thing is designed right now, it's designed for softball.
absolutely.
So, I
Or
mean, when you
T-ball.
start throwing stuff out there, to be honest with you, I'd like to see a new baseball facility that could host the same amount of tournaments, because they want tournaments. That's a good selling point. We can be like, hey, look, we got the 40 acres. We can turn this into another baseball facility that would, a nice one. And there's plenty of acreage out there
Oh, I
to do
agree.
other stuff. Everybody's been wanting that stuff.
Baseball and
I mean,
dog
that's the whole
parks, that's
reason
all I
why
hear about.
Casey's is
Dog
putting it in right
Dog
there.
parks.
They're expecting something to
Dog
go
parks.
there.
Dog park.
Dog park.
Everybody,
I agree.
everybody I talk to,
100%.
baseball fields and dog parks.
And it's strictly a decision up to the voters.
Right, no,
You
I agree.
propose it, and if they turn it down, they turned it down. We move on.
Yep. 100%.
So, in order to make this, before now, November, we would need to spend some money on an architect rendering, showing something to our voters. Does that need to be approved between now and November, or now and
I think that,
September or so?
we need to determine what you want to
And-
base your,
And how quick you want to do it.
well, you gotta do it now.
Well, no,
Well, I
I'm
mean-
saying, how quick, and how much do you want to do at once?
How many
Because you
phases do you
could, that's
wanna
right.
have?
Like
Well,
next year, we're
essentially-
saying we're gonna put in a new baseball diamond, or we're gonna put in
Well,
half a baseball diamond.
You don't know how much, let's just say there's 5 fields you wanna build. You don't know how much those fields are gonna cost
Right.
you to build with underground
That's right.
utilities and fencing and all the lighting and all, it's gonna be a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I
I
think
think
that's
it's,
gonna be-
that's-
So that's where
Phase.
you have to go out for bids. We have to get, we
You gotta-
have to have a solid number before we could
You
go
gotta have
actually.
parking, you gotta have roads entrance, you gotta
Yeah.
have bathrooms, you gotta have the whole enchilada.
Yeah.
And so, you just say what you want done on that area and we can start doing that. But an A&P tax isn't gonna work for us.
No.
right.
No.
So,
And it's just me, and I'm throwing this out there. We tried to get a 3/4 last time, and to be honest with you, to me, the half cent sounds the best. I mean, if you can guarantee the residents in the city that you're gonna bring in $1 million, and we're gonna spend $1 million a year on Parks and Rec to give your kids
Additional.
something else to do, to grow our city. I mean, you're talking about 740 houses that's going in. We're gonna have a lot of kids in them houses.
oh, no, yeah, I agree.
We need to do it.
We have to be careful where our sales tax rate goes too for our businesses, but I think at a half, you're still within, what the average would be in this area.
That was my
I think
next
if you went any
question.
more than a half, it would be just trying to get stingy, in my
Yes.
opinion. I think a half would be sufficient for our city.
Yes.
So do we need a motion to go ahead and start moving forward with that?
All you gotta do is say that's what you wanna do. That's what you wanna do, we'll move forward and
I'll make
start
a
trying to get, you just send me some emails the next 2 or 3 days, or come by or something, and let's all sit down and or call another meeting, let's sit down
Yeah.
and say, y'all go out there and look, come back and let's say, let's meet again at a working meeting if you want, or whatever.
When is-
And I'll be here and we'll, get renderings done.
When's the eclipse?
April 8th.
April 8th.
Right.
I don't
I
think.
know what you're thinking. We gotta have stuff done to hand out then.
Yes.
I'll be out of towners, though. A lot of them be out of towners.
Yeah, but there'll be a lot of people just, but, well, and, you
You
know,
got July, we got the 4th of July. from
There you go.
that's where we have our, and
Okay, I
then
mean,
that's where it needs to.
That's big.
Because everybody's gonna be there at the 4th of July, and then they can look, and we have posters up and say,
Big
hey.
4x8.
Yep,
at the
yep.
entrance.
Put them everywhere and say, hey.
Concession stand.
Do you want the future to be this, or do you
What-
want the future just to grow slow and?
The great thing about this is if they say no, that's
It's
on
on
them.
them.
Absolutely.
100%.
100%.
You can have those
You can
big
put a screen
signs
up
up
at-
out
Yeah.
there.
You can put
with
a
the
screen up at his
drawings on it.
business and pass it. With this is what our complex, new complex of the city
Mhm.
will be.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's gonna cost some money. To get those renderings done.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the first thing we need to do is figure out what we want there, and then,
I would say.
So when we did this before, Lee and I, we've been through it a little bit. So we brought in, Stevens, and we kinda told them what we wanted. And then we started getting renderings and everything, and we brought them in.
Who's
and-
Stevens?
We're an architectural
Stevens.
firm.
Stevens, Inc.
I
Okay.
can bring some of those plans, I've got all those plans that we had, that we might could use parts of, if, you know.
It's gotta fit that land. It's gotta fit.
let's just say the
Every
land's
square
changed.
inch of that
hasn't it?
land's gotta
Yeah,
be
yeah.
utilized and planned.
I think, I don't know if the front of that still would work or not, like you had
I mean,
talked
we can
about.
call Kyle tomorrow and ask him if he
But I
can
can
do
bring it,
those
y'all can look
renderings,
at
or
it.
if he can show us something real quick.
Okay. Easy enough.
We could have a public
I think they
meeting
can
and
do
let
it.
people come and give us their ideas.
Yeah, I'm down for that too. Let people come talk.
It gets chaotic when you do that,
Yeah.
but it's
We-
good to,
I mean, but we gotta tell them, hey,
People
this is
need
gonna
to
be
be-
about Park and Rec.
yeah, they
We
need to
could
be
do a
involved.
post on our page and just have people
And they may have ideas that we
do
hadn't thought of.
comments. Do that. Awesome. We'll be, okay.
Next time they start coming in, shoot them our way. So we can start looking at them as well. Only the good stuff, though. 'Cause I'm sure you get plenty of bad as well.
Harley
Open
send them
Pandora's
everything.
box. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Want us to start?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Do we need to make that a motion? No?
If you want.
I thought,
I made it a motion
I seconded it.
What was the motion? I'm sorry.
to allow the mayor to go ahead and start, getting everything ready to, begin the task of putting a half-cent.
Half cent, okay.
On the November
tax.
ballot.
To put a half cent on the ballot.
On the ballot.
I think
Okay.
it'll take $1 million a year to pay out.
Yeah, it will.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I didn't know the details.
So the motion is to allow the mayor to proceed with getting the items ready for the half-cent sales tax to be placed on the November ballot. I'm gonna call the roll. Alderman Duggar,
Yes.
Alderman Stark,
Yes.
Alderman Lindsay,
Yes.
Alderman McCormick,
Yes.
Alderman McLean.
Yes.
Okay, so another item that we need to discuss is, we know we're growing and we know the cost of everything is skyrocketed. And I was against it. I was against some other things but I've changed my mind. And, I was, I didn't want to have to take on all these other responsibilities, but I've decided that we have to take on responsibilities. And PDD subdivisions, I think that we need to encourage our planning and zoning, and I haven't drafted an ordinance, but it's amendable. But I think somewhere we have to come to a resolution that we're gonna have to allow smaller lots. Affordable. Now, at the same time, I think we have to make them where they're have the eye appeal and they have, they don't distract from other areas. I think we've had some pictures. I don't know, James, if you've got the pictures. And I think we've looked at them, have we not?
We
We
have.
looked at them?
Yes.
So it's possible to do smaller lots, and it's very possible that, I mean, I thought in my mind, I would never live on, but I would. After going and looking at some of these places, I absolutely would live there. I'd have to do something with my wife's junk, but I would live there. But, they're, I think they're absolutely, if it's
They're
done
attractive.
properly, they're gorgeous, and it looks good. Now, my only concern with this is the access to backyards. I just can't make myself think that we can allow small lots with no access to backyards. Now, I don't know how Nathan feels about that, but I think that what we've seen, there's alleyways, and a lot of them, there's not alleyways, but they still the front and rear still front of the street. And so it makes it accessible. So some of them, the garage is on the front, some of them, the garage is on the back. But it's doable. And I would like to see us move forward into proposing something of that. And, you know, there's a lot of subdivisions. We just saw one, James and I just saw one. There's pass that over you're the builder, and you can review that as a start. But this could be done if you're, you know, we can create a zoning district, or you can start it off by running everything through a PDD so that each development stands on its own merits, and it has to be adopted by the planning and zoning as acceptable. But there was a drawing sent to me this week, and I've shared it with James, and it was a development that had mixed, what did it have, James? How many? It had residential housing, it had townhouses in it.
Single-family dwellings, and then there was a little bit of upscale on the front end that they had proposed to market to older generations.
Like 300 residential lots or something, and some 100 of the others, and
All told, there was 500 different lots,
but you know,
or right at 500.
something else we thought about, Nathan, is that if you have an area like this and it's small lots, why could you, and I think you've already thought of this, but why can you not have some land set over here as affordable storage units for these people too?
Absolutely.
And
Possibility.
still make them look nice too. They look like a garage instead of and, you know, that helps take care of some things.
Well, I like what you were saying about the, you know, in between them, the alleyway, would the alleyway be where like, mail, trash and that kind of stuff? would
That's
be?
right. That's what we've seen is, in those, it's, that was in Conway and Little Rock, both that.
They have
that
similar
them.
stuff to that up by the fairgrounds in Searcy, that new addition that's right out in front.
Right.
I think they have alleyways.
They do, some of them do.
And those are
Cersei
small,
does, yes, yes.
I like that. It's really nice.
They're,
Harding up there's a lot. And these don't end up being small houses. You can put a 2,000 or 3,000 square foot house on them,
absolutely.
2-story, even if you want. But,
Yep.
you know, I think the aesthetics has to look good. I don't think that we can have just lots with just shotgun houses on them.
How do you regulate the aesthetic portion of that?
A lot of that, Nathan, could be an HOA too. If you have mixed, it can be an HOA or,
But the builder's the one that sets those aesthetics, correct?
the builders, you know, if we do create, just like in that, I think it says in there that, you know, you won't have, I'm not sure, I hadn't read it in a few days, but, you won't have the exact house plan, one after the other, after the other, after the other. It'll
So-
be every so many, and you can change the color schemes on the places. Doesn't cost anything to change the color schemes. You can do siding and mixed of siding, rock, brick,
Or, I mean,
but I can't, you know, I don't think that we can do them, and it needs to be surrounding characteristics of the other houses, but, with a PDD, you would look at each one that's presented to you, and the area and everything. I mean, it's either approved or it's disapproved. But I think we need to encourage, we've never had one in this city, and I think it's time that we push toward doing that and have them. A lot of elderly people that would go into them, and like I said, from what I've seen, the ones that I've seen, I wouldn't mind living in there at all. Most of them are HOA and everything's taken care of, manicured.
Drive around in golf carts.
But how do you think it's possible?
Say that again.
Don't you think it's possible?
To pass an ordinance that says we can have
Well,
PUDs.
To come up with provisions within our PDD that would allow 4 50-foot lots, minimum of 50 foot, but you can do a 50 by 120 or 140 or whatever you want, but a minimum of 5,000 square foot.
Okay, yeah.
But I would hate to know that we had something that had a house sitting on it and had a 5-foot side yard on each side, and you couldn't even get to the backyard with no access at all.
Well, what I'm reading here is a 0 setback.
Huh?
I seen a 0 lot line setback on interior lots are allowed.
20, 25 foot in the front or rear.
And a 0 lot line on the sides?
I don't think so. Should be 5.
0 lot line setback on interior lots for attached dwellings.
The townhouses, that goes with that drawing, the townhouses would have 0 lot.
That drawing there was presented to be built out here as a concept of would we consider on Duggar Road something like this?
Yeah,
And I don't see why we wouldn't consider. As long
okay.
as- Pardon?
This is attached to that.
That?
Yes. This
Well, not
ordinance.
really, but it can be.
Okay.
This hadn't went anywhere but to my desk, and I don't know if I've sent it to you. I think I told you I'd give it to you, but I ain't seen it.
So I think it's a great idea, but streets, drainage, infrastructure is all maintained by the city or maintained internally, or how does that
It's
work?
gonna, I
on a
think it's
PDD?
something like this, and it's gonna have to go HOA. If this big a, of a,
Yeah. Yeah, I know, I just, have you made this clear to Robert that,
but I'm saying, you know, where
Cities
they,
are-
huh?
I'm sorry, have you made this clear to the developer that, city's not taking the streets?
Oh,
And-
would we accept them in the dedication?
That's what I'm asking, yes.
Yes, I would,
Okay, okay.
absolutely. Storm drains, there's curb, gutter, streets, yeah.
Okay.
It's like we would accept anything else unless it's, you know, I think that for the concept to work, I think a lot of it could be when we got down to the retention, we would have to accept it. But I think like this, he could have an area set over aside for storages too, and that would be financially feasible for that project.
Okay.
So I'm willing to sit down and work with you and work with Randy and see if we can come up with something.
I like it.
I mean, I think we need to have the option for, I mean, people are gonna move here. They need to have options, you know,
Yeah,
and to draw different, and you're right. I mean, there's a lot of, you know, there's a lot of people that
Until
don't
we
want it. I mean, I'm
see-
ready to sell my house and get a smaller one and with a smaller yard, cause I'm sick of mowing too.
Until we see, I would like to see it go into the PDD provisions. And then if it's working, then we might could create a zone, but I wouldn't think that we might not want to create a zone and just do it blanket all across the city and then, you know, it not turn out well for us, but.
So I gotta ask a question. What is a PDD? Because I have no idea what you're talking about.
Land Development District. And in our zoning book, we have one in there that's been in there for years, but nothing's ever been passed. There's been a couple that's been requested, but nothing's passed planning and zoning. And I think that they have to change their way of thinking, just like I have changed mine some. You know, we have to change in order to progress, which sometimes we have to change.
yeah.
And you went by, you seen some of these?
I've seen a bunch of them.
Oh, yeah.
Where they at? I'd like to go look at some of them.
Okay. You go to Conway, and that's called, I forgot what that's called. You have,
Hendricks Village?
Isn't there one in Cabot right beside the Purple Onion?
Yeah, well,
it's-
sort of.
You
I mean,
can
it's
go,
so, I mean, it's.
Same density, but different, departments, I think.
Harding has one up there.
and just south of the
What's the one in Little Rock?
fairgrounds.
Oak, River Oak, or what is that? It's. Look it up. There's one in Little Rock that, it's absolutely, I thought it was gorgeous. And then the one in Hendricks is amazing too.
These ones down the road are very attractive and whether.
Yeah, they
the
can make
mayor's
it very
proposing-
attractive if
is
it's
if-
done proper.
Right. If planning and zoning takes this and looks at it as a case by case, as opposed to putting a 50 by 120 lot anywhere in the city that's zoned there, then planning and zoning, but they can't regulate it. You know what I mean? But if this is proposed to planning and zoning, and they look at it and each
This is
building
Little
is
Rock.
fit on the lot. And if this is
Yeah.
what it's gonna look
That
like in
almost
3D
looks
when
like
it's done,
where my brother
then
lives, yeah.
P and Z has a clear picture of what's gonna be put on there, as opposed to saying this is R5 over here.
I'm good with
Put anything.
I think we gotta do something like that.
on it, as long as it fits on the lot.
And this has got a mix in it, mix in it of,
Well, what you'll have is you'll have.
You what?
you can see the yard.
What, you said there's one in Searcy.
By Harding,
All of these on this road.
on the Harding
access
campus.
Yeah, and they built up on those, they built.
That's the one down Park Street. Big Park Street, just run right down in front of the college.
Yeah, all the newer houses.
Yeah, now they locked that off.
Same thing, they're just back in there.
Yeah,
Right now, we don't have a density, our smallest lot line is
I mean, and they got some two-story houses in there. They're all
Yeah, it can be done, right? Here's the deal, you got a 65-foot wide lot or a 50-foot wide lot, put the same house on it.
You're just mowing less.
You're going 15 feet less.
That's it.
7 feet on both sides.
Yep.
Sidewalks in front.
I don't have a problem with it. I mean, I know a lot less than y'all do about that. So
Yeah,
I'm gonna have to just
Yeah.
get back off y'all. Just being honest.
That's kind of like the one at the Hardy College, yeah.
You and Mayor think it's a good idea.
Yes, it does. Yeah, very.
I think you'll get a different, you know, you might get some retirement people in. And
I get it. I don't wanna have a mow yard either when I get older.
Yep. Well, and you'll also get,
All they want to do is retire, all they gonna rock. And they put colored rock in the yard.
yep. You also get that person that just graduated college, who, you know, just starting life.
Yeah.
You know, they're not married, or they're married but they have no kids, you know what I mean? And now they're a school teacher at Beebe.
And a lot of them put all the utilities in the back too, so it's sticking out the grass. You gotta buy, you don't have any.
We just gotta have, can't just have one market.
It sounds like everybody's in agreement, so.
They can be
what
done
do we need?
attractively.
I guess just go over the plan and then we'll look at the plan to get it
We've
passed.
been working on it some with Randy, he's been sending me back, things back and forth, ideas, and so I think we're starting. So now we need to do this state aid resolution. I need to get it back here. And that, the state aid resolution is resolution for $560,000 of, money, $400,000. And we do have to send them a check for $15,000 on the front end. And if we back out, we don't get it back. But,
What's the 564 for the, grant?
phase two.
Phase two, yeah.
Actually, the way I understand it is that when we do the phase two, and they do that, the state comes in and does all the work. They do the
Oh, cool.
construction, everything. And we don't need to go
Did
out.
you just say the state comes in and does all the roads?
Huh?
Is that what I just heard you say?
It's a 5-year project.
The state comes in and constructs it.
Oh,
We don't
Lord.
go out for bids and have private companies.
Good.
And,
That's,
Which one's gonna be done first, that or 64?
Hmm?
Which one will be done first, that or 64?
in this $400,000, there's improvements to West Mississippi.
Oh, that's nice.
widening,
Huh?
widening, curb and gutter.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's good.
Just that little spot behind the bank,
Yeah.
Riverwind.
And,
Okay.
and it comes alongside the apartments, and so that's why I'm trying to cut our part down over here, and, because we're gonna achieve benefits of improvements on Mississippi.
Need a motion for that, Mayor?
Cheryl can give you the resolution. You got it.
It's resolution number 2024-01.
Make a motion to read resolution by title only.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to read resolution 2024-01 by title only. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, resolution 2024-01, a resolution expressing the willingness of the city of Beebe to utilize state and street monies for the following city projects.
Motion to approve.
Thank you.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the resolution 2024-01. I'm going to call the roll. Alderman Duggar,
Yes.
Alderman Stark,
Yes.
Alderman Lindsay,
Yes.
Alderman McCormick,
Yes.
Alderman McLean.
Yes.
Passes.
Now we're down to lawn care bidding. We're we're doing the lawn care bidding, but have you had any come in?
One.
You know, this was all bid in as one, the spraying and the lawn care. But I'm really good with the spraying people. Are you not good with the spraying people? Do you think they've done a good job?
Yeah, the spraying people's done an excellent
So I
job.
think we need to separate the spraying from the,
Will they do it?
if they want to continue at the price that they've been giving us, I think we just need to stay with the lawn care spraying
Okay.
and
Just
break
go
it
back
down
out
to the
bidding for the
mowing.
mowing?
Yeah,
Will
because
they
that's
only
separate
spray?
people anyway, huh?
Oh, they are separate people?
Yeah, they're separate.
Okay, okay.
They're separate people anyway, so we just break that off and break it down to whoever bid. I mean, just open it, look at it, tell me you need to rebid it without the,
That's great.
Yes.
and then I don't like doing this here, but I'm gonna do it. Piece of equipment right here, that I bought it. Street department's had it ever since I bought it. Street department's had it ever since I bought it and used it. Using it out there on the 40 acres, or using it at the ballpark, or using it everywhere. And I hadn't got it back, and it's over there in their lockup. It's,
Seen it.
$11,000 new. It's fairly new. And so I bought another piece of equipment. Tractor house is $9,500 for a used one. The city wants this one, $5,000 for the city. I'll take a $4,000 donation slip and $5,000. You wanna buy it? If you don't, fine with me too. The city needs one, they use it, and they don't have one.
It's cheap enough.
I make a motion that we purchase it.
What is it?
It's a Harley rake.
It's a power box rake.
Yep.
90 inch.
Yeah.
Come over here, young man.
Yeah,
That's about-
4,000 off.
About 10 or 11 new.
I'm donating
And it's nearly new.
$4,000
Uh,
of it.
Yeah.
Who first it?
Duggar.
Okay. Okay, I'm gonna call.
I just need to get it back, or I need to let them have it.
My bad.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to purchase a power box rake at it's 90 inches from, Mike Robinson for the amount of $5,000. I am gonna call the roll. Alderman Duggar,
Yes.
Alderman Stark,
Yes.
Alderman Lindsay.
You said $9,000?
No, I said 5,000.
5,000,
Okay, make
but I
sure.
want 4,000 donation
Right.
slip.
Yes. Yes. Sorry about that.
That's okay. Alderman McCormick,
Yes.
Alderman McLean.
Yes.
Can we go back to this ordinance while we got a break? Were we gonna make a motion to adopt this ordinance, or make a motion to
No, I don't
just
think we're
discuss this
finished
later?
with it yet. Do you?
Okay. No, not at all. I just didn't know what we're gonna do with it. Just let
No,
P and Z look at it, or?
That was, one that, you talking about the,
The
PDD?
PDD, yes, sir.
I think if we can meet and look at that and
Okay,
everything, and make sure we've got it where it's workable,
absolutely.
and bring it back.
Okay.
Which one is that?
The PDD for 50-foot wide lots.
Did we all get that one before at
No.
another meeting?
No, it just stopped here with me.
Oh, okay.
Basically,
It's to put inside our zoning code book under the PDD section to allow provision for smaller lot.
Yeah, I got you.
Absolutely. most cities were 50-foot wide lots originally. If you go to any of these old lots in town, they're 50-footers. You know,
I think this is the longest meeting we've had, isn't it?
We gonna order pizza?
Got anything else?
We gonna order pizza?
We should have done that an hour ago.
That's right.
So, we have not.
They don't have anything else.
We have not filed the final plat, or the plat on Community Drive, so at some point we'll have to do that. But haven't done it. Has everybody seen the
Concept.
final drawing? Have you? Okay. That's all I have, I think.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
I was gonna steal you made all the other motions, I was gonna let you have the good one.